ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಹಾರ್ದಿಕ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ. To introduce Dr. Swamy is just like showing a lamp to the sun. Probably it is well understood in Hindi, सूरज को दिया दिखाने के समान. I might miss so many important milestones of your life. I may be excused for the same because the time is very short. Every time you write of Dr. Subramanian Swamy, like the mythical phoenix bird, he reinvents himself from the very flames that others think he burned down with. Not one to let go a fight and not one who forgets easily, Dr. Swamy has bounced back to cast an imprint on contemporary history that few individuals in India can lay claim to. Dr. Swamy was born in 1939 into a family of intellectuals. When Dr. Swamy was just 6 months old, his father changed job and moved from Chennai, the then Madras, to Delhi. Dr. Swamy attended Hindu College, University of Delhi, from where he earned his bachelor's honors degree in mathematics. He studied for his master's degree in statistics at the Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata. He then went to study at Harvard University, backed by a full Rockefeller scholarship. In 2.5 years, mind it, 2.5 years, Dr. Swamy at 24 completed his PhD in economics in 1965. His thesis advisor was Nobel laureate Simon Kuznets. In 1964, Swamy joined the faculty of economics at Harvard and in 1969 became an associate professor. When he was associate professor, he was invited by future Nobel laureate Amartya Sen for a professor's chair on Chinese studies at Delhi School of Economics. However, by the time Dr. Swamy traveled from Harvard to Delhi School of Economics, other traveler academics at the famed institute had changed their views on Dr. Swamy. He was just offered a reader's rank at DSC, a sharp U-turn. Thereafter, he moved to the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and he was a professor of mathematical economics there from 1969 to 1991. In the early 1970s, he was removed from the position by its board of governors due to his crusade for academic freedom and for opposing the trade union rights of the non-teaching employees of the institute. He won the suit in 1991, and to prove his point, he joined only for a single day before resigning to become a cabinet minister. He served on the board of governors of IIT Delhi from 1977 to 1980 and on the council of IITs from 1980 to 1982. A phone call by Janasangh stalwart Shri Nanaji Deshmukh picking Swamy to represent the party in the Rajya Sabha had him elected to parliament in 1974. The emergency 1975 to 77 made a political hero out of him. Swamy defied and evaded arrest warrant for the entire 19 months period. His most daring act during emergency was coming into India from America, breaking through security cordons of parliament, attending a Lok Sabha session on 10th of August 1976, managing to slip out of parliament, escaping from the country and returning to America. Swamy was one of the founding members of the Janata Party that swept the Indira Gandhi emergency regime out of power in 1977. Though the party splintered, but Swamy stuck on and was its president since 1990 till the party was merged with BJP in 11th August 2013. Being president of Janata Party and an opposition leader, Swamy has the distinction of being handed out a cabinet rank by the ruling party. Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao in 1994 appointed Dr. Swamy as chairman with Commission of Labor Standards and International Trade with a cabinet rank. Contrary to what most Indians believe, Dr. Swamy, as pointed out above, is a mathematician by education. It was the turn of events in his life that turned him to politics and law. Dr. Subramanian Swamy played an important role in making it possible for people of Hindu faith in India to access the Kailash Mansarovar religious pilgrimage route. To make it happen, he had met Deng Xiaoping, China's top guy of the time, April 1981. He has written extensively on foreign affairs, dealing largely with India-China, India-Pakistan, and Indo-Israel relation. In November 1978, Dr. Swamy was member of the group of eminent persons called to Geneva to prepare a report of the United Nations on economic cooperation between developing countries. As early as 1963, Dr. Swamy also served as a few months at the United Nations headquarters in New York as Assistant Economic Affairs Officer. He learned Chinese, mind it, please. I underline this. He learned Chinese, that is Mandarin language, in just 3 months. Till this day, Dr. Swamy is considered an authority on the Chinese economy and especially comparative analysis of India and China. Just 20 days back, Dr. Swamy addressed an international convention on South Asian cooperation and regional security in China on 22nd June. Apart from various articles and research papers, Dr. Swamy has authored more than 20 books on various subjects like economic planning, trade and industry, Indo-China relations, terrorism in India, corruption and corporate governance in India, Hindutva, 2G spectrum case, electronic voting machine, and many more subjects. He has taken a lead role in Srimati Jayalalitha disproportionate asset case, all of us know very well, campaigning against black money, 2G spectrum case, investigation on electronic voting machines, Nataraja temple case, and many more national important issues. Sir, I am honored to welcome Dr. Swamy, a teacher, an economist, a mathematician, a politician, a rebel, a crusader, all this and much more. Give a big plan. We are lucky to have with us the true representation of Bharat Ratna Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya with us, in the sense that Sri Jayant Kumar Sharma ji, who is sitting right to Dr. Swamy, is the great grandson of Pandit Mahamana Madan Mohan Malviya. His mother being the granddaughter of Malviya ji, Sri Sharma's 97-year-old mother being the eldest surviving grandchild of Mahamana, was given the honor of leading the family members to jointly receive the Bharat Ratna Award from the President of India on 13th of March 2015. She also had the distinction of being the first of Mahamana's granddaughter to have graduated from Banaras Hindu University. Unfortunately, she is not with us anymore, as she left for her heavenly abode on 25th of May this year. His father, late Pandit Srinivas Sharma, was an educationist and retired as Director of Education UP in 1974. Mr. Jayant Kumar Sharma's father was also a contemporary and close associate of Dr. Harivansh Rai Bachchan, with whom he shared common interest in writing poetry during their student days at BHU, when Mahamana was the Vice Chancellor of BHU. Sri Jayant Kumar Sharma ji is a Bachelor of Electrical Engineering from BHU, having graduated in the year 1968. After completing his post-graduation in Electrical Engineering, Control Systems, also from BHU in 1970, he joined the ADE, Aeronautical Development Establishment, Bangalore in DRDO in 1971. He held several important positions in DRDO and finally took over as Chief Executive Airworthiness at the Center for Military Airworthiness and Certification, Bangalore in 2001. He is superannuated in 2006 after 35 years of service in DRDO. During his tenure as Chief Executive Clearance, Airworthiness Certificate was granted under his leadership to several national projects, including indigenously designed prestigious light combat aircraft Tejas and advanced light helicopter Dhruv, besides several upgrades on Dornier, Jaguar, MiG, Sukhoi, fighters of Indian Air Force, Indian Navy and Indian Army. Sri Sharma is a fellow of Aeronautical Society of India and was the chairman of Bangalore branch of Aeronautical Society of India in the year 2005. He was also the National Vice President of Aeronautical Society of India Executive Council in the year 2005-06. He was also the elected Vice Chairman of the Institute of Defense Sciences and Technologies, Bangalore, during the year 2010 to 2012. Sir, I, on behalf of Malviya Mission, Bengaluru, extend a warm and hearty welcome to you, sir.
Join me in inviting Ranjeev Tiwari, General Secretary of Malviya Mission Bangalore Chapter, for sharing his thoughts with you about the mission.
Honorable Dr. Subramanian Swamy ji, Chief Guest of this function, respected Sri Jayant Sharma ji, Presiding Guest of this function, respected Sri Srinivas Shastri ji, President, Bengaluru Chapter of Malviya Mission. On behalf of Malviya Mission Bengaluru Chapter, I would like to welcome each one of you in this inauguration lecture of Mahamana Memorial Lecture Series. It is indeed a pleasure to address this August gathering for a common social cause. Mahamana Malvi ji and Banaras Hindu University both have a great lasting impact on our lives. Both Malvi ji and BHU have been and will be an integral part of our life. In BHU, we not only received the knowledge, but also a complete intellectual environment for the holistic growth as a human being. Perhaps we could have not got this kind of inter-faculty interaction, diverse networking opportunities, and broad social outlook anywhere else in the world. We consider BHU as a revolutionary social innovation, one of its own kind and parallel to none. Today, we say that we are living in a VUCA world that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, where there is no simple solution to the problems. However, one can easily imagine how VUCA were the situations at that time when our country was not even independent, having an incredible dream and far-sighted vision to establish an indigenous world-class university for imparting advanced education on science and technology and making that dream into reality against all odds. This was certainly a groundbreaking achievement. And all this was possible only because of Himalayan willpower and relentless efforts of great visionary Pandit Madan Mohan Malvi ji. Thereafter, we all know about contribution of BHU in nation building, in making India a knowledge-based economy and society, and in providing a self-reliance to the entire nation during the era of post-independence. It was no other than the people from BHU who played a key role in setting up institutions and agencies of national importance, including IITs. If we look at Mahamana's life, we find three main pillars to it. The first one is a strong appetite for social service. And second is simple living and high thinking. And third is honesty and integrity. I'm happy to say that we all in Malvi Mission imbibe this and live by this every day in and out. These are the common characteristics which act as a strong binding force amongst all of us. Most of us are working professionals with busy schedule. Still, we manage and devote our considerable time to mission social activities and carry out our endeavor of making incremental positive differences in the lives of people, especially from the underprivileged section of our society. We give utmost importance to our social obligations, perhaps more than anything else. This won't have been possible without the blessings of Mahamana and our evolution in BHU as a socially responsible citizen. As far as activities of Bengaluru chapter are concerned, we all know that Bengaluru chapter has been established recently, and we are still in the nascent stage. However, I'm pleased to share with you that we have done reasonably well in short span of last 6 months. Post our inaugural function of 18th January, we have organized 2 medical camps, that is 1 eye camp and 1 mega health checkup camp in the slum areas of Bangalore. Around 500 poor and needy people have been benefited from those camps. Prescribed medicines, spectacles have been distributed free of cost to all patients. Mission is taking care of all those patients who require further special treatment and surgery. We at Malvi Mission got deeply pained by the natural calamity, earthquake which struck our neighboring country, Nepal. In this time of great human tragedy, on behalf of Bangalore chapter, we collected a sum of rupees 1 lakh just within couple of days and contributed towards the relief work of Nepal earthquake victims. All these won't have been possible without the consistent support and dedication of our honorable members and volunteers. We are getting good responses, goodwill gestures, and motivation from all quarters. This has really inspired us to raise our bar continuously. It really shows that how much trust people have on us and how much great regard they have on the values of Mahamana. We are looking forward to take more challenging social projects in the area of education and health in the coming future. This will include adopting government schools to improve their resources and infrastructure, building libraries and computer centers for underprivileged children at multiple suitable places, and conducting medical camps at large scale periodically in the slum areas. This year has been very special year for all of us, as we have received two great news. Firstly, Mahamana has been conferred Bharat Ratna Award, and secondly, BHU is completing its 100 years this year. In this regard, we are planning to organize BHU Centenary Year Celebration function here in Bangalore, along with Mahamana's Bharat Ratna felicitation function towards the end of this year. Also, there is a plan to publish a souvenir depicting the journey of last 100 years of Banaras Hindu University. However, to execute all these and to run Bangalore chapter activities in a sustainable manner, we require some amount of funding. Although we have contributed from our side in best possible manner, but that is not sufficient. And therefore, I appeal to all of you to donate generously whatever you can for these chapter activities and initiatives. Malvi Mission membership is not just for BHU alumni, but it is open for all. Those all who believes in the Mahamana ideology of Kame Dukh Taptanam Pradi Namarti Nasanam, that is to take birth again and again till people are freed from their sorrow. Therefore, if you believe in the idea of nation building through philanthropic activities, Malvi Mission is the right platform and forum for you. And we welcome all those with the same spirit and folded hands. Membership and donation forms are there in the registration desk, and you may kindly fill it up and submit at the time of leaving the hall. This is completely a volunteer initiative, and there is no compulsion on anything. At the same time, I request you to please indicate and let us know in what manner you can participate and contribute towards various initiatives of Bengaluru chapter. This will indeed a tribute to the Mahamana as we look forward for your active involvement. Today, we have achieved another milestone by commencing the Mahamana Memorial Lecture Series. Launch of Mahamana Memorial Lecture Series is a matter of great pride for all the BHU alumni and Mahamana followers. We are not only hopeful but confident that this will go a long way in propagating Mahamana's ideology. We are extremely grateful to Dr. Swamy for accepting our invite for delivering this inaugural lecture. In fact, when we were discussing about this inaugural lecture internally, Dr. Swamy was our first and obvious choice. And Dr. Swamy's prompt positive response to our request was truly exhilarating for all of us. We request and look forward to have Dr. Swamy here every year for his lecture on contemporary issues of national importance as a part of Mahamana Memorial Lecture Series. Once again, thank you all for coming here and giving a good beginning to the Mahamana Memorial Lecture Series. Thanks very much.
I will now invite Mr. Jain Sharma for his speech.
Respected Dr. Swamy, sir, Sri Shastri ji, Sri Ranjeev ji, all the respected personalities available here, ladies and gentlemen. Malvi Mission Bangalore has been actively pursuing the ideals of Mahamana Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya and taking forward the social work started by Malviya ji. Most of the people in India associate and recognize Mahamana with the creation of Banaras Hindu University. Not many people, especially in the South India, are aware of his multifaceted personality and innumerable contributions in political, social, and reform sectors. Restriction of time will not allow me to cover all aspects of his contribution. Nevertheless, I would like to touch in brief about only a few of the important contributions he made to the social sector during his lifetime. In order to establish the dignity of marginalized section of untouchables in the Hindu society and to associate them in the mainstream of the educational and social development, Mahamana founded the Antya Jodhara Sabha in 1921 and started a new revolutionary experiment of initiation of sacred mantras, that is mantra diksha, to untouchables, which was fiercely opposed by the orthodox section of Hindus. Consequently, Mahamana had to convene the meeting of Hindu scholars in a different part of the country and conducted debates, shastrarths, and obtained cooperation and support for his mission. In 1927, he initiated the Om Namah Shivaya and Om Namo Narayan mantras to several lakhs of untouchables at Kashi, Prayag, Nasik, Calcutta, and Haridwar, and saved them from becoming converts to non-Hindu sects. This obviously resulted in weakening conversion campaigns led by the Christian and the Muslim organizations. As a result of this program, the segregated and the segmented community of the untouchables and the Dalits regained its respectable status in the mainstream of the Hindu society at that time and attained full freedom to get water from the public wells, ponds, entry into the temples, of getting an opportunity to see the deities, have a Dev Darshan, right to walk on the streets with a raised head, to get education in institutions of learning, to observe and celebrate religious festivities according to the tenets of Sanatana Dharma, and to perform sacramental rituals, sanskar vidhan. In this context, it should be mentioned that in 1932, British Prime Minister MacDonald announced a provisional scheme for minority community, which is known as the Communal Award, wherein Hindu backward castes were to be given minority status and awarded separate representation. This created a difficult situation in the country, and Malviyaji conducted a meeting of Hindu leaders to eradicate the practice of untouchability and played a very important role to work out compromise between the Harijans and the upper caste Hindus, and finally signed what is historically known as the Yarvada Pact with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Mr. M.C. Raja. This event resulted in ending Gandhiji's fast unto death, which he had undertaken on this issue. On the issue of his mantra diksha, he had accepted the challenge by one of the Shankaracharyas of Haridwar. Consequently, he entered into shastrarths with the Shankaracharya in the presence of some 60,000 people, and Malviyaji initiated the untouchables at the Brahma Kund on the following day. In 1935, after defying the promulgation of Section 144, he preached his sermons on the topic of Dharmo Rakshita Rakshita at Hariki Padi, Haridwar, to untouchables and high caste people. As a memorial to that sermon, the tradition of weekly sermons at that place has continued from 1935 to this day as a regular feature in Haridwar. In BHU, he made provisions for free education of all the students of untouchables and Dalit section. All were given monthly stipend and were given blankets and clothes every year. It is the contribution of Mahamana that several untouchables achieved higher attainments after getting the education of at Banaras Hindu University. Babu Jagjivan Ram too studied at BHU under Malviyaji's guardianship. In 1914, Malviyaji successfully led the movement against the government plan of stopping Ganga water to Hariki Padi and divert it to the canal dug at Bhimagonda. He stayed at the Dehradun for 1 month in 1916 and prepared a memorandum and presented it to the state governor at that time. The governor convened a meeting, and accepting Mahamana's appeal, he managed to keep the mainstream of the Ganga undisturbed. For proper maintenance of Harki Padi and necessary assistance and services to pilgrims, he established a society known as Sri Ganga Sabha in 1916, which prospered well and is active in its mission even till today. The government plan on Ganga was hurting the sentiments and religious rituals of Hindus, and if implemented at that time, the main current of the Ganga might have been disturbed and the remaining part of India might have been deprived of irrigation and other facilities. In order to perpetuate the sacred memory of Mahamana for the successful leadership of Ganga Nehru movement and his great services rendered to the patronized Hindu religion and culture, his statue has been installed at Harki Padi in Haridwar and is present till now. In terms of All India Seva Samiti, in 1914, Mahamana Malviyaji established Akhil Bharati Seva Samiti at Prayag. Its aim was to inculcate the spirit of mutual harmony and cooperation in society, to make survey of social and economic conditions of the country and prepare its data, to provide necessary help and services to neglected and helpless marginalized people of the society, to organize service societies after training social workers to expand the program of education of society, cooperation, cleanliness, and physical development of people, to make efforts for amelioration of the depressed and downtrodden sections of society, and to work for the reform of the criminal tribes, and to make efforts for their educational achievements, to extend medical facilities to rural areas and run social institutions especially aimed at welfare of mothers and children, to run centers for widows, vidva ashrams, homes for downtrodden, udhar grihas, homes for deprived women, centers for people affected with leprosy, kushtashrams, center for blinds, andhashram, and shelter for elderly people, vriddhashrams, to organize extension services at the time of fairs, famines, floods, and epidemics, to organize and direct boys' scout movement, and to achieve coordination of organizations with identical aims and objectives. Several branches of the aforementioned Seva Samiti were started in different regions of the country, and thousands of social workers were associated with it. Under the leadership of Mahamana, regular help and assistance was provided to sufferers at the time of epidemic, famines, floods, earthquakes, etc. Malviyaji, with hundreds of workers of Seva Samiti, served the sufferers. Served the sufferers. The Harijan Seva Sangh, Servants of India Society, Marwari Relief Society, Calcutta and Tata Institute of Social Services were associated with this committee. In 1914, at Prayag Sangam, Malviyaji took an oath taking Ganga water and declared that the following thoughtful determination of his life in Seva Samiti. Natvaham kamaya rajyam na swarga na punarbhamam kamaye duktappanam prani namarti nashanam. I have no desire for kingdom, neither any desire for heaven, nor freedom from bondage, and that is to remove the miseries. As a matter of fact, despite his multifaceted contribution to the social, political, and educational sectors, Banaras Hindu University is the greatest and the matchless edifice created by Mahamana, which alone is indeed capable to perpetuate his memories. Notwithstanding his creation of BHU, one should remember that Mahamana dedicated his life to social reforms and services to the nation in several areas of the benefit of society. And I would like to end this with a famous saying from a British poet: "Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time." Thank you.
I would request all of you to join me with a round of applause to welcome our esteemed chief guest for the evening, Dr. Subramanian Swamy, an economist, a former cabinet minister, and a former president of Janata Party. Sir, I request you to come on stage and enlighten us with your valuable thoughts on the topic, Indian challenges and way forward.
Mr. Srinivas Shastri, the president of the Bangalore chapter, Bengaluru chapter, Shri Ranjeev Tiwari ji, Shri Jayant Sharma, members of the audience, I'm privileged that the Mahamana Malviya Memorial Lecture I've been invited to address. Malviya ji is now Bharat Ratna. He ought to have been the first Bharat Ratna for India. But Jawaharlal Nehru gave it to himself. And Jawaharlal Nehru, I was surprised, declined all applications, suggestions, letters to give a Bharat Ratna to Sardar Patel. And it was when I became minister and Chandrasekhar was Prime Minister, asked me who should get the Nobel Prize, the Bharat Ratna. I made a list of who all had got it, and I'm surprised to see the name of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel missing. So the first time Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel got the Bharat Ratna was 1991. And for a person who integrated over 500 kingdoms into India by merging them, by using Samadama, Veda, Danda, and which nobody else could do, There's only one which he did, but in the last minute after he did, Jawaharlal Nehru wanted to carry it forward, and that was Kashmir, and what a mess he made of that too. So what I'm saying today is that these are the real heroes. Malviya ji, Sardar Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose, who for too long we have ignored, forgotten, because the dispensation was hostile to them. So today I'm very happy to be part of the ruling party, which today made correction for it and gave on 26th January the Bharat Ratna to Malviya ji. Malviya ji, of course, was long before it became fashionable. It's still not completely fashionable, but very largely fashionable. Became an advocate of Hindutva. The Indian long tradition, culture, the Indian symbols like Ganga, and the recital of prayers like the Gayatri Mantra, all these Malviya ji in his lifetime spent trying to publicize. About 2 years ago, Ashok Singhal of the VHP invited me to visit with him the Ganga, all the way up to the Gangotri. And I was surprised to see so many dams being built. And what the effect of it was that the Ganga river would be so diverted that by the time it reaches Haridwar, there would be no Ganga at all. And that is the time when I did research and found that Malviya ji had forced the British to sign an agreement and make a public official notification in 1917 that never again the British would build or allow to build a single dam on the portion from Gangotri to Haridwar. And that agreement still stands, but somehow in independent India it has been flouted, and still a large number of dams are being built, have been built and are being built. I think I may have to go again to the court to get this enforced, Malviya's agreement. Today I'm speaking to you. Of course, let me say my salute Malviya ji as an academician for the wonderful campus and university tradition he built in the BHU. I know there were many attempts at one stage to scuttle it, to finish it. I was elected by the Lok Sabha to be a member of the University Court of the BHU, and there used to be a Vice Chancellor by the name Shrimali. I think he was a Pakka communist, and somehow I and communists can't sit in the same room without fighting. And it was a terrible situation where every tradition that Malviya ji had brought to the campus was being tried to be changed. But now we are safe, I think, and I think the BHU deserves to be built into a major university of India and a center for attracting students from all over the world. It is equipped for doing that. Today I have to speak to you about the Indian economy, its challenges, and the way forward. I don't think the Indian economy is in a good shape. After all, we are recovering or trying to recover. We are not recovering, but we are trying to recover from 10 years of misrule, corruption, bad policy, and so on. It was sad to see my good friend of long years, Manmohan Singh, as Prime Minister, because he couldn't do a thing while he was Prime Minister to change the course of the economy, because of the fact that he was Prime Minister in the sense that he sat on the chair of the Prime Minister, but he was not really a Prime Minister. And he was so timid that he could not assert the power of the chair. The fact of the matter is that the country had given him the credit for the economic reforms that were brought. I am witness to the fact that the economic reforms that were brought in the early 90s were blueprints prepared by me which I got it through the Chandrasekhar government, but the Chandrasekhar government fell. And then those blueprints, anybody can write blueprints, but those blueprints were taken willingly by Narasimha Rao, and he wanted me to be part of this government. And he said, but there is a condition, you have to join the Congress party. I told him that I cannot do. He said, why not? I said, because you are a tenant in the Congress party. The owner is the Nehru family. One of these days they'll throw you out. And certainly if I'm in the party, they will throw me out definitely. So I will not join your party. And then he gave me a cabinet rank status with a commission to head so that I could attend the cabinet meeting. But it was Narasimha Rao's sagacity, farsightedness, determination to implement the economic reforms that transformed India from a 3.5% GDP growth rate to a 9% growth rate. And it is to him that we owe it. And I predict that the next Republic Day, the next Bharat Ratna will go to Narasimha Rao. So it is that which transformed India. Why did India decline? India was the most powerful economic country in the world, not to mention its progress in mathematics, science, and so on, up to the year 1100 AD. And then the decline began. Visitors who came to India before 1100, what raptures they were about India. Fascian from China. Even later, when Vasco da Gama came, visitors after visitors spoke about the great wealth of India. They came here to trade. Some of them had nothing to pay for except some gold coins. I remember that on occasion when I came across a signboard in the United States near Harvard University, which said that here stood Tudor Ice Company which sold ice to India. And I couldn't understand why a company in America should be selling ice to India. And then through the Google, I got hold of a book about Tudor Ice Company. And I found that it was the merchants of Massachusetts used to go by ship all the way to Kanchipuram. And in Kanchipuram, they would buy and come back. But one day, it is narrated in the book that the king of Kanchipuram is a Chola king. He invited them and asked them how they are feeling and how they are being looked after. And they said, well, we have no complaints at all. We are being treated very well. And we are buying all that we have never seen in our life. But one complaint we have is that we have to bring an empty ship and fill it with goods from here and go back. Why can't you buy something from us? And the king said, what can I buy from you? India produces everything. Our country produces everything. There's nothing I can think of buying. They said, no, there must be something that you can buy from us. So he thought and he said, I live in Kanchipuram. I've never seen ice. I know it's there in the Himalayas, but it means going a long distance. But I hear in your country, ice falls from the sky. What he meant was snow falls from the sky. And therefore, if you bring ice, I will buy it. So in the winter, when the lake, there is a lake called Fresh Pond, it freezes. They put sawdust on it, cut it up, and put it on ship and took it all the way to Kanchipuram to sell it to India. That was the state of trade between United States and India. From there, we declined. And the real decline took for us, really serious decline took place for us after 1857. In 1857, and I think you need to know this background before I tell you the way forward, and why the way forward, the way I'm suggesting, is the best way forward. In 1857, when there was this uprising, which Savarkar called the First War of Independence, and the British called it the Mutiny. The First War of Independence was all over India, and the British recognized that it was the peasantry of India which was supporting the armies, providing men, material, food, and so on. And so they decided that once we crush this 1857 uprising, we will break the back of the peasantry. And that's what they precisely started doing. They created this zamindari system where they recruited the criminals of society and told them that you are empowered to collect revenue on our behalf. Every year we want this amount to run the administration of India. How much you collect, we are not bothered. How you collect, we don't bother. You are empowered to use any method, including taking away the land of the farmer who can't pay, taking away the land of the brother of the farmer who can't pay, taking away the jewels of the wife or the gold that the wife is putting in around her neck or wherever she is keeping it. All these powers they gave to these zamindars, and they were criminals. And they went about their business, and they collected for every year the share of the British for their administration, and this is what bled agriculture and reduced it to utter poverty. In 1947, both Mahatma Gandhi and Sardar Patel said agriculture should be given priority. Not that the industry should not be developed, but they said it needs priority. And these are the farmers who also supported the freedom movement. But at the same time, they are the ones who have suffered the most. Our agricultural products declined all through. Some of the princely states didn't suffer so much because the British laws didn't apply. So Mysore, Punjab, these are better off than, say, those which were directly under British rule. But Jawaharlal Nehru did not agree. He was fascinated by the Soviet economic model, which required extracting resources from agriculture to finance industrialization. There was no scope for export and import. There was no scope for private enterprise. It was all government control. And that is the model that he largely applied, because he couldn't fully apply it. It was difficult because of the revolt in the Congress party, particularly led by Chaudhry Charan Singh. But the fact is that that model failed from day one because there was no resources to extract from agriculture. It was bone dry. And therefore, we had an agricultural crisis when the rains failed. And fortunately, at that time, Lal Bahadur Shastri was the Prime Minister. He called in a few scientists and agricultural scientists and put together a package called the Green Revolution Package, what came to be known as Green Revolution Package. 10% of our farmers were able to use it, and that's what produced the Green Revolution. From then on, we have never been at the margin, even though today new kinds of problems have arisen by which the farmers are committing suicide. That is because of a different issue. But the fact is that the production of food in India is now sufficient. So why did Jawaharlal Nehru do that? Of course, because he was very much enamored of the Soviet model. The Soviet model has failed everywhere. I got into trouble with Delhi University, as you heard Mr. Shastri mentioned, because I was anti-communist. I was born anti-communist. What could I do? It's a genetic flaw in me. And the domination was that of the communists. And they didn't know this when they wanted me back. And soon enough, I began writing articles on the bomb and the self-reliance and Swadeshi. And they felt this is all disguised Hindutva. And they blocked me from accepting a professorship. They knew that I will not. I was already an associate professor, about to become a full professor at Harvard. There was no question of my accepting anything less. So they offered me a lower rank. I said, go to hell. And I went and taught for about 3 years in IIT till the communists find I was poisoning the minds of the students, not in classrooms, but later on in the evening in the hostels, addressing meetings, and found that I was advocating trade union rights, which they felt was a dangerous thing where the right wing gets hold of the labor. So I was sacked. But at that time, I kept saying, and I remember visited by, I had joined a panel with EMS Nambudripad, and he turned around and told me, why are you for this capitalist model? Look at the socialist model. The Soviet Union, there is no unemployment, there is no poverty, and there is no inflation. So what could I say? I said, well, this is all propaganda. He said, no, you can go and see. I said, if I went to Russia, they will only show me what they want me to see, and there's no point. But in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed into 16 countries. And then everybody came to know what the truth was. And then I went to Nambudripad and I said, you said no inflation, no poverty, no unemployment. Now I say no Soviet Union also. So, fortunately, Narasimha Rao got the nerve to break from the past Congress traditions, and then he decided that he would adopt the economic reforms. That's why he sought my help, and I gave him help, I gave him encouragement. Manmohan Singh got all the credit, but I know Manmohan Singh at that time, he was shivering most of the time. Narasimha Rao used to give him encouragement, said, blame it on me, say that I am pushing you, and that this is not what you want. But Narasimha Rao did not get credit, it doesn't matter. The fact is, India discovered that it had the potential to grow fast, and the potential is now to be multiplied in new forms. What do we need to do today to develop the economy? Well, I would divide that analysis by first pointing out to you that economics is not as simple a subject as common sense. Many people think that they know economics just because they know some few words. And this has been a bane in our government also. People who don't know any economics are being asked to make decisions on economics. Economics is a real science. That is why the Nobel Committee has decided to award a Nobel Prize for economics as a science. They have declared it as a science. And there are many things which people think is common sense. Doesn't happen in real life. For example, if any common man will tell you that if prices rise, demand will fall. Answer is wrong, not always. Sometimes. If prices rise, the demand also might rise. How can that be possible? It's possible because it happened in the Irish famine, when it was first discovered, that when prices rose, then they found that the amount they used to eat of potatoes was insufficient if they bought it at the new price. So therefore they cut their consumption of other things and shifted that money to purchase of potatoes. So the purchase of potatoes increased, so demand also increased, price also increased. It's called the Giffen paradox in economics. So it's possible a situation where prices rise and demand also rises. It's also possible if prices fall, demand can fall, because you find that you can buy the same amount that you were buying before for less money. So what you do is you buy other better things, higher quality rice instead of the lower quality rice. You shift that extra money. So this is called the income effect of a price change. So therefore there is no law which says that the prices move in one direction. The other thing has to happen the opposite direction. And this is what the governor of the Reserve Bank doesn't know. And that's because he was not educated at Harvard, but at Chicago, which is an inferior place. And therefore, he doesn't know basic economics. He has been advocating that to control inflation, interest rates have to be raised. That's a very funny way to control inflation. But if you raise inflation, there are other effects also. Investment will go down, because who will invest with such high cost of capital? So it's like suggesting that the best way to reduce the temperature of a patient is to kill him, because once he's dead, the temperature is bound to come down. This is not the way to run an economy. So the economy is an integrated system. and you do one thing here, it has an effect somewhere else. It's a general equilibrium system, as we say in technical economics. And therefore, every policy has to be weighed on its total impact on the economy, not in one aspect. I have advocated many times that income tax should be abolished. Now, everybody thinks this is a revolutionary concept. But who pays income tax? Agriculturalists, rich agriculturalists don't pay income tax. There's no income tax in agriculture, by the way. And the poor don't pay income tax because they are below the cutoff limit. And the rich also don't pay much income tax because they got chartered accountants who can fudge accounts left, right, and center, show everything as expenses. Till 1996, Dhirubhai Ambani did not pay 1 rupee income tax, let me tell you that. And G.D. Birla used to show a total annual income of 18,000 rupees. Everything else was in expenses. Car expenses, house expenses, everything was in form of expenses, which were being written off for income as income tax deduction. So therefore, the people who pay income tax are people like you, who are middle class, upper middle class, professional class, who earn money the straight way, and therefore you're compelled to pay income tax. You are caught at the source. Some of you are in sources. But look at the impact of income tax abolition. The income tax abolition immediately means that you will save that extra money which goes to the government. Indians are not great spenders. We have one of the highest savings rates in the world. And that savings goes up, then the investment will go up. If investment goes up, growth rate will go up. And through indirect taxes, you will raise more resources than if you than the amount you lose by abolishing income tax. Or not only that, why should I raise revenue for the government only through income tax? There are 1,000 other ways to raise money. For instance, instead of giving away spectrum licenses, you auctioned it, you get 2 lakh crore rupees for the 2G spectrum. And that is the total amount of revenue you get from income tax. So what's the difficulty in, now of course our government is auctioning spectrum, 2G spectrum, we have got 2 lakh crores. Can this continue every year? Of course, because the technology of spectrums also is changing. Now it's going to 3G, 3G to 4G, then go to 5G. What is the difference? Of course, it's a question of what these airwaves, in what cycles they go, and the amount of information it discloses. In a 1G wireless set, you will only be able to make a phone call. In a 2G, you will be able to send SMS, you will be able to send email, you will be able to send your pictures. In 3Gs, you can have video of yours talking and somebody else picking up the phone. And 4G, you can send 10,000 pages of documents. So all these can be, for at least for the next 25 years, you will have opportunity to auction these things and get money. Coal blocks, if you auction today, we are about to auction it, you will get 11 lakh crores. That is the amount you would get, which is what? Which is 5.5 times the income tax revenue. Income tax revenue, I'm sorry to say, is used by politicians to harass people, and they feel very upset that income tax, if it's abolished, then we will lose control over you. And that is why there's a huge resistance to my proposal. But ultimately, I will get it through because I never give up once I start something. So what is the problem with the Indian economy today? We may say we are growing at 7% per year, but this 7% is not the 7% of the old method of calculating national income. There has been a subtle change which very few people have noticed. It has come in the papers, but people have not noticed. And that is, earlier on, we were valuing production in calculating national income in 2004 prices. Mr. Jaitley has decided he will value it at 2014 prices. Now, 2014 prices are higher than 2004 prices. And so for the same production, it will give you a higher value. So this is the index number thing for which I earned a great deal of name because I jointly authored it, a paper on the theory of index numbers with Paul Samuelson, which is considered a classic. And this whole index number is a big trick. We got to be very careful. And so this is the latest year prices have been used to value national income. So you are getting an artificially higher rate of growth. Of course, all the previous years will also have a higher rate of growth, but who cares about the previous years? Today, the media only talks about 7% growth rate. If you valued it by 2004 prices, you would get a growth rate of 5%, which is nothing. India needs to grow between 10 to 12% per year. If India needs to grow at the rate of 10 to 12% per year for about 10 years, you will become a developed country. How do you grow at 10 to 12% per year? In very simple logic, it is if you use your capital very efficiently and you have a rate of investment, which is domestic savings plus foreign direct investment. If your rate of investment is 36% and you use your capital efficiently by, according to say Japanese standards or South Korean standards, then you will get 12% per year with a 36%. What is the present rate of savings? Only 32%. The present rate of investment, 32%. It can easily be pushed up to 36% by abolishing income tax, and you'll get 12% growth rate, and that will give you a great deal. But growth rate is not enough. You have to see its structuring. I think the most important thing for us is for the agricultural sector to get a big boost in the coming 3-4 years. Agriculture is a sector with the maximum potential for India, let me tell you. Everything is going for us except our attention. We are not paying the attention that we should pay. The yield per acre in India on one plot of land is far less than a yield per acre for the same crop in, say, South Africa, Egypt, or Japan. Of course, it's lower than Vietnam and all these Philippines and all these countries. Why can't we raise it? Of course we can raise it, because the Indian Council of Agricultural Research shows that on experimental plot with assured water, fertilizer and pesticide, they are able to produce 5 times more than what is produced by the farmer on his land. If the same part of India, the same mud, can produce with better technology in terms of science 5 times more, what is the difficulty in for us to produce 5 times more? 5 times of grain, 5 times of rice, all these things, if they go quintuple times, there will be huge surplus in our country. What do you do with that surplus? You export it. Most of the countries, the price of rice, wheat is more than our country, much more than us, 3 times, 4 times. But we don't have an agreement with them. They jealously guard their borders despite the WTO and so on, and we have not put up a fight at all. The WTO provides you to quarrel with other countries on the barriers that they put, the tariffs they put, and see that their agriculture, they allow our products to come. If our products go, agriculture products like rice, wheat, vegetables, they start going to milk, they start going to Europe and America, I can tell you their agriculture will go to dogs. That means they will have to close it down because it's much more expensive. And that is why they put these barriers. But we can work it out, because they want to come to our country. They want to come bring Walmart to our country. Walmart, it should not come to our country just now because Walmart gets loans from their banks at 2% interest rate. They want to come to India and participate in this cheap labor pool that we have here. Well, that's fine, but the fact is that we have millions of traders. They get capital at 12% interest rate, 14% interest rate. And they want it quickly, they have to go to the informal market and get a 25% interest rate. Half the suicides of the farmers are also because of the same. Because the capital, access to capital is so poor in India. And therefore, they will have to get loans at 12%, 14%, 18%, maybe even 25%, while Walmart will get it at 2%. And both Walmart and our traders will have to compete for the same labor force. And when that happens, the price of labor will also go up, making it impossible for our traders to survive. And crores, it will be crores of traders will become destitute, and we can't allow that. But of course, if the Americans allow our farmers to export to America and also take loans from American banks, then I have no problem that they're coming with Walmart here, as long as they allow us to go. This kind of argumentation has not been done. And I'm telling you, with the Americans and the Europeans, the only way is bargain. If I may recall a personal event, in 1991 there was a Gulf War, the first Gulf War. Senior George Bush was in power. And Saddam Hussein had grabbed Kuwait and taken it over and annexed it. And so there was a war. The Americans went to battle to liberate Kuwait. So at that stage, we were in great difficulty because VP Singh had completely exhausted our treasury, and we were faced with bankruptcy or even default of payments of the past thing. So Mr. Chandrasekhar asked me, can you help out, get some money from the IMF? IMF was not ready. They said, no, these are the conditions you have to follow. And those are terrible conditions we could not accept. But just as I was in a gloomy mood, I found the American ambassador walking to my office and then asking me whether India would cooperate with the United States in this war. I said, of course. But he said, yeah, we want our planes coming from Philippines to refuel in India and then go on to Saudi Arabia so that they can participate in the war. So I said, well, fine. I mean, there has to be some quid pro quo in this. They said, yes, we'll give you 3 times the landing charges you charge commercial flights. I said, you want me to change policy from never allowing any foreign country to land its plane to in your favor, and you're giving me these peanuts. I will not accept these. So sorry, it can't be done. So he said, what do you want? I said, I want $2 billion without conditions from the IMF. So he said, what we have got to do with the IMF? I said, don't bluff me. You got 87% of the vote in IMF belongs to the Americans. You see, in IMF, the vote is not on the basis of one country, one vote. It's based on how much you donate to the funds of the IMF. And Americans, Japanese, and all these American allied countries donate 87% of the money to the IMF. So I said, you have 87% of the vote, and don't tell me you can't get this thing through. If you can't get it through, no problem. You go and find some other country. Go to Pakistan or some place like that, where you can land your planes and probably have it blown up by some terrorists. So he said, all right, but when do you want it? I said, Monday. He said, but today is Friday. I said, yes, but in Washington it's Thursday night, so there's no problem. Got the whole day ahead of you. Come back on Monday with a check or don't come. And he came back with a check, $2 billion. So the same way we should negotiate on FDI, the same way. You want to come? All right, you allow me to do this in your country. Our advantage is cheap labor. Our advantage is cheap products, you see. Look at milk. I mean, Europe, the price of milk is 7 times the price of milk in India. And we have got, 150 million cows. The average yield of a cow is only 200 liters per year, because they are not given proper nourishment. But an average yield of an Israeli cow is 11,000 liters per year. So imagine that 150 million cows start giving you 11,000 liters of milk. Well, I will be coming to this meeting swimming in milk. That much milk there will be in this country. So I'm saying there is nothing. The same way I point out to people, ours is the only country where God has given us the benefit of 12 months of sunshine. We can grow 3 crops a year, 3 cropping seasons. America cannot, because 5 months of the year they have snowfall. So there is no agriculture possible. Same thing with Europe. Even China, 2/3 of China has snowfall. So India is the only country where you can grow crops 3 times a year, and that means tripling of the production without any additional investment or additional land. So the potential is tremendous, and we have to use it. So we must therefore globalize agriculture. The way to do it is to ensure that every farmer is able to export. Teach him how to use the internet. E-commerce has now become a way of the future. Through e-commerce, he can find out. Help him with packing industries. Bring international standards. For instance, if you want to export milk, you have to have it properly pasteurized, properly packed. You want to export flowers, you need to see that it's packaged in such a way it doesn't rot and it reaches in time. It means that you must have, every district must have an airfield where freight planes can take off, cold storages. These are the focuses that need to be done. And therefore, if you do, agriculture will produce abundance in your country, and you can use that money then for industrialization, building your infrastructure. So this is the first thing I suggest. I'm sorry that has not been done so far. Maybe by next year, things might change, because sometimes you see, you can't do change yourself, but change gets imposed from above due to certain events or some scandal or something which brings about changes in personnel. So therefore, I am confident that there is enough for in our setup in the party to see that these things get implemented. So agriculture should be the first thing, way forward is the focus should be on agriculture. Second thing is that let us recognize one thing. Growth is not more capital, more labor. Yes, more labor, more capital will produce more growth, but with smaller and smaller additions as you put more and more capital and labor into it. That's called the law of diminishing returns. So what is the way? The way is by innovation. What made England become an industrial power? It was not more capital and more labor. It was locomotives, railways, Bessemer steel plant. This created what is called as the Industrial Revolution, and it transformed it. Incidentally, Britain also abolished income tax from 1815 to 1842 to bring in new savings into the economy, and it worked very successfully. And once they had achieved the Industrial Revolution, they brought back the income tax. So the same, it's a demonstrated fact. Similarly, United States. What was the United States? New innovations. All through United States has been ahead for the last 100 years through innovations. First, it was the integrated production system. Then it was the question of jet airlines, jet planes, transnational marketing, fax machines, telex machines. And finally, the thing that turned America around again in the last decade of the 20th century was internet. Internet has completely changed the way we do business. You can do transnational business sitting in New York with 7-8 countries, your factories in 7-8 countries, and coordinate through the internet. Video conferencing. So these are new, and more such are coming. For India, the innovation waiting to happen is the transformation of our economy away from oil-based to nuclear fuel-based. I'm not talking of uranium, I'm talking of thorium. We got 60% of the world's thorium. Uranium will get exhausted by 2050. And then the whole world will turn towards thorium. And we get thorium lying on the sands of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And all you have to do is scoop it up. When Homi Bhabha was there, he had recognized there are 3 stages for refining the monazite that you get from the sands into thorium, and 2 stages he had cracked. And then after that, we have not proceeded for. Let us move in that. It's the cleanest form of nuclear energy, and it can give you electricity in abundance. You can have electricity as you have never seen before. So this is one area. Similarly, instead of cars running on gasoline, you can have cars running on hydrogen fuel cells. These are batteries where you charge it overnight, and next day you can travel 300 kilometers without recharging. And if you have, instead of petrol stations, you have charging stations, then of course it becomes like any other. And therefore this dependence on oil will go, and it will enormously increase our foreign exchange availability. Why are we not doing that? Because I don't know. Japan is doing it. Now by the end of this year, they are bringing out a car with hydrogen fuel cells. We can also do it. And of course, if we do it, the Arabs will suffer. They will have to go back to their tents and their camels, because no more they will get the oil revenues anymore. So maybe terrorism also will disappear with that. So I think, therefore, we have to recognize that innovation is crucial. Who does the innovation? Innovation is done by young people coming out of colleges, universities, motivated, provided with the inspiration. They are the ones who will do it in any country. And look at India. We have got the youngest population of the world. Average age of an Indian is only 26. The average age of a Chinese is 35. Why? Because they foolishly went at the Western urging to 1 child per family. Family planning, control. Mrs. Gandhi tried that in the emergency, and the people taught her a lesson. So after that, I'm not against family planning, but it should be something where you incentivize people to do it, not force them to do it. And people are sensible enough to know how many children they should have, and you should enable them to control their family size. And we are finding it now. Our growth rate is going down, but slowly. And that's how it should go down. It was 2.2% 20 years ago. Now it is down to 1.7. Of course, the Hindu rate of growth is going down faster than others, because we have not made the other communities, one community in particular, conscious of family planning. But we need to do that, because family planning is secular. Nobody can say it's communal. And it's important because there are some political consequences of a declining Hindu population. The Hindu population is committed to democracy, secularism, and so on. And that we have seen that in the Islamic community, wherever they are in majority, there is no democracy and there's no secularism. I have to visit Saudi Arabia or Qatar or Iran or any other of these Muslim majority countries. I mean, it's not a criticism of them, but this is the way they are. We are the way we are because we are cantankerous people. We disagree, we argue, we shout at each other. We sometimes shout too much, like in Arnab Goswami's programs. But the fact is that keeping that in mind, because we did not get forced by the Americans to do a forcible family planning, today we have the youngest population in the world, 26 years old. 70% of the population is below the age of 35. This is the crowd that we need now to educate. Education has become extremely important. We must make access to education, not necessarily in terms of buildings and grounds and so on, but through online. EDX is a new program that the MIT people have created, by which you can sit virtually in the classrooms of Harvard and MIT and take courses and take examinations. So there are new technologies which will make it easy to reach semi-rural towns and the rural areas. So this is the focus the challenge for us is how to convert this huge demographic dividend, as it's called, into producing innovations. We have to motivate our people. We have to encourage our people to try and do something. Our country, we have been risk-averse people. We hate risks. We want everything to be stable. But we have to now educate our people to think in these terms. These are some of the areas where we have to move forward. And the last but most important thing is, the secret of China's success is that they were able to get semi-processed goods from East Asia, add value to it in terms of its casing and take for instance the computer, the laptop. They get it from Taiwan, and then they add to it the cover and the keyboards and so on, and that is called Lenovo. And then they put a stamp, made in China. Most things called made in China are not made in China. They're made in East Asia. All that is done is value added. But that value added is an expensive part in the cost. So the Chinese are able to do it cheaply. So East Asians also find it worthwhile to send it to China, get it value added, and then send to Europe. And that's why China has a deficit with East Asia and a surplus of trade with the West. And that's how they are getting their foreign exchange. What if these East Asians can be persuaded to come through India and get their value added done by India? I asked the Japanese, I asked the South Koreans, they said there's only one thing wrong with you. Your infrastructure is lousy and your corruption system is terrible. In China, you bribe the politician, everybody else does the work. But in your country, you have to bribe all the way down to the chaprasi. And that's the problem that we find harassing. So, therefore, these are curable things. They can be cured, in my opinion, both building infrastructure as well as, if we can manage to divert that, it will collapse the Chinese economy. And it will give us a huge boost, because these East Asian countries are not at all pro-Chinese. They are in fact pro-democracy. They would be happier to do business with us, because we have patent laws, we have courts, and so on. And these are some of the great opportunities that lie ahead of you. It requires a great deal of focus, and so far it has not been possible because of a variety of reasons. But don't despair. If there's anybody who can do it, it is us who can do it. And we intend to do it. We have still got 4 years to go. And I'm sure that the turnaround in the economy would take place. Thank you very much.